Here we're going to look at our pressure sensitive force activated response pad. It can contain up to 5 pressure sensitive force activated buttons. These can either be isometric or linear. So isometric buttons won't press down, so as in they don't move, whereas linear ones are more like a keyboard key where they will press down, but there's a force sensor underneath that measures the force. On the rear of the unit there's a reset and a mode button. There's a TTL RJ45 out, which will give you event marks on something like an EEG system or an eye tracker. There's a keyboard HID USB socket and a serial USB socket which will stream the forces that are being exerted on the buttons at any moment in time, so in other words live. There's a status LED which is tricolour to indicate the mode that the pad's running in, and a fault LED if there's a fault or if the force sensors needs to be re-teared. So what we'll do, we'll plug that in and give that a try using our app, and then we'll give it a try using Psychologists with some script that we've written, and we'll stream live. So I'll plug the first USB lead into the keyboard HID, so the pad will just be powering up now. Then I'll plug the second lead into the serial, so that'll be the live streaming of the force data. So the pad should be on a solid stationary surface because that's important. You should leave its power on for the load cells or force sensors to settle and to tear themselves. So we'll just start our app up. Okay, so basically there's a preview of each of the 5 buttons, or however many you've got on your response pad. We've got a keyboard HID preview on the right there, because again this will send out standard keystrokes once a threshold's been reached on a given button. So once a force being exerted on a given button is above a threshold that you set, which is generally 20 grams by default, it will activate a HID keyboard keystroke. So that might be the letter A for button 1 and so on. And when the force drops below that threshold, it will do a HID key up signal. All the time our app as well can capture the actual force data. So all you need to concentrate on if you wanted is the keystrokes, and we'll record the actual forces which can be then matched up when your experiment finishes. So I'll connect to the pad. So now we're connected. So what I'll do now is select what we want to view. So we're going to view the button readout, force graphs, and the HID keyboard preview. So basically if I press the isometric button, I need to click on run first. So if I press on the isometric button, that's the non-moving one, we can see that it starts to activate from 20 grams because that's where we've set the HID to activate. And you can see that it plots the force on the button from 20 grams upwards. You can set that from 0 upwards. So if I do a kind of hard press and keep it down and then gradually release, you can see the curve form and the keyboard HID constantly output while the threshold's above that set point, and then as a release it'll go off. So for the linear ones you should be able to see the actual button will move down, and again you can see that the keyboard HID is activated. And the same with the other 3 linear buttons. So you get a simple way of getting access to force activated data in the respect that you can just capture the HID keyboard keystrokes as though you press the key on a keyboard. And again that's easy to do in a given experiment generator. but our app will record the actual force data, and we'll let you match that up afterwards. So what I'll do, I'll just disconnect that and switch to PsychopI so you can see how you can stream the data live in an experiment generator. So this is a really simple piece of PsychopI that we've written as an example. So you could be doing that in MATLAB or anything where you could stream serial data. So it's pretty simple. So I'm going to run this experiment as a desktop, and all this is going to do is stream the data back and just display it on screen as I press the buttons, and it's just going to do 1,000 samples. So the first thing it's going to do is just going to connect. So it's connecting now, and it's just tearing each of the load cells. So that's like kitchen scales where you zero them if you put a bowl on them. So every time you start it up, you can tell it to set everything to 0. So that's just taking 5 seconds to do that now. Right, so basically we're now running, and we're going to send things back as an 11-byte serial stream in base 71. Again, it's easy to do because we've given you the example scripts of how to do that and how to convert it. We've also got Excel spreadsheets if you want to dump the data and convert afterwards. So basically I can press the isometric button again, and it'll give you a reading in grams and newtons. So you can see the grams there and the newtons on the bottom, and the sample number. So you can see me just gently tapping that button. If I do a linear button, you can see it go down. So basically you can set your own thresholds in PsychopI. You can monitor the curves and you can activate them whenever you like, or you can just respond to the keyboard here and look at the data afterwards. So you can see each button there. Once we get to 1,000 samples, this little demo will quit, and then it'll go back to the start. And that's pretty simple to do, but it gives you lots more bites of the cherry than you'd get from a standard response pad.